This month's interview is Nina. She is a junior literary agent at High Spot Literary Agency. Hope you find it useful and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Nina Leon. I'm a junior agent with High Spot Literary. My primary role as a literary agent is to build and maintain my list of clients. So my day-to-day tasks really do vary, which keeps things very exciting. So I could be going through queries, which is where I assess manuscripts that have been submitted to me and see if I want to offer representation. I could be having Zoom meetings with current existing clients. Maybe we're doing a bit of editorial, so we're doing developmental editing or line editing, so that involves a lot of correspondence. I could be building a submission list, which is a list of editors that I feel would be appropriate for a specific project that I'm going out in submission with. So that's very exciting that I have so many different facets of my job, and it definitely keeps things really interesting. So I come from a writing background. I started writing books when I was around 12 years old. I wanted to be a published author. I thought that was the path I was going to take in life. When I was slightly older, I submitted a manuscript to an agent, and all of a sudden I started to feel the sense of curiosity about what was on the other side of this door that I was knocking on. I realized that I wanted to work on the publishing side of the industry. I read an honors degree in publishing, which is a very focused, highly specialized degree. After my degree, I read for Pam Macmillan South Africa, which is where you assess manuscripts for the editorial team. From there, I was unbelievably lucky to land an internship at the Irene Goodman Literary Agency. I had Whitney Ross as my mentor, to whom I owe the greatest deal of thanks because she taught me everything I know about being an agent. Learned so much during that internship. I had essentially just started my career and I was catapulted to the very top of the industry. And it was just such a privilege to see all these senior agents do what they do and do it so incredibly. After IGLA, I joined High Spot Literary as an intern again, but very quickly, within 2 weeks, in fact, I was offered the position of junior agent, and I have been an agent since. My favorite memory of working in the publishing industry is 100% when I signed my first client. That was a real milestone for me and just the most exciting thing in the world. I felt so privileged and so grateful that my client was willing to trust me with their stories and trust me with their career. My favorite part of my job is absolutely signing clients and working with my clients. I am so privileged that I get to work with such exceptionally talented writers who I just feel were born to tell their stories. It really is such a privilege to see them work and to get to know them and have relationships with them. It's the most rewarding and exciting part of my job. The most interesting thing about my agency is that it is based in New Zealand, but I'm based in South Africa. So I've never actually met my colleagues, but we have Zooms all the time just to check in and make sure everyone is supported and happy. So I definitely think that it's quite modern that you've never really met your colleagues. One thing I've learned about the publishing industry is the responsibility that gatekeepers, such as agents and editors, have when it comes to representation and inclusivity within the publishing industry. We have a duty and a responsibility to amplify marginalized voices. We have a role to play in allowing authors to share their voice and contribute their stories to a space that has historically lacked representation. That has been such an incredible part of my job, and it's something that I feel is a real privilege to me and to anyone who has the opportunity to give others the chance to share their stories and share their voice. So I have 4 primary types of meetings. The first meeting in terms of sequence is a potential client meeting. So this is where I've gone through a writer's query and I've connected with their manuscript and their characters and their story and the world building that they've created. I have identified the market potential for this project. So on that call, I would get to know the person, see if our vision for their career aligns, see if we connect. And the second type of meeting that I have is with my existing clients. So that could be an editorial meeting if we're working through a manuscript together and we're doing maybe line edits or developmental edits. It's sometimes really useful to spend a couple of hours just, face to face, even if it's on a screen, just chatting through a manuscript rather than back and forth emails. The third type of meeting that I have is with my colleagues. We have Zoom meetings because my agency is located in New Zealand, but I am based in South Africa. And the last type of meeting I have is with editors. So before COVID, agents and editors would, go for coffee, have a chat. The editor would tell the agent the type of manuscripts that they're wanting, and the agent would tell the editor the type of manuscripts that they have. So you connect and hopefully get to work on a project together. Part of my job really is about networking, and it's really, really important to develop and maintain relationships with editors so that you can give them the project that they're looking for. So the skills you would need as a junior agent: definitely being able to read fast. That is essential. You're reading a lot of queries, you're going through manuscripts that you've read before and you have to reread, and then you have to reread what you've just read. You definitely want to have a critical eye. So it's important to connect with the manuscript, but it's really important to be able to identify strong character development, strong world building, if this project would sit well in the greater publishing market, because these are really sort of essential, basically business skills to have, because as much as publishing has this romantic side to it, whereas stories, you have to be business minded. So you have to have the skill set to identify the business potential within this manuscript, because essentially it is a product that you do want to sell. Other skills that are essential are strong editorial skills. I'm a very editorial heavy agent. I always want to be able to bring out the best in a story and give an editor the best version of the manuscript. You also need to be very organized because you have multiple clients and you have multiple manuscripts that you're doing a sort of back and forth with. You also are keeping track of the submissions that you're sending out to editors and their responses. So it's a lot to stay on top of, but if you're organized and you have those skills, it's definitely manageable. So I correspond with my clients the most. When we're going through the editorial process, there's a lot of back and forth on email or on Zoom. Jumping on a Zoom call is really useful because you get to have that face-to-face interaction. I also like to just check up on them on a Zoom call every now and then and just see how they're doing, making sure that they're happy, that they're enjoying the writing process, and that they understand what's coming next in the publishing process. That's really, really important. I always want to empower them with knowledge. So I definitely do correspond with my clients the most. There are multiple different avenues that you can follow to land a job in the publishing industry. You can obtain a relevant degree, such as one in English literature or one in publishing studies. If that is an opportunity that isn't available to you, publishing houses and certain literary agencies offer incredible short-term and long-term internship programs. You can see if publishing is the right fit for you. You can also explore different departments. And those internships are advertised often on websites or on social media. If you're a little bit younger and you're not quite in the working world, but you're thinking that publishing is the right career path for you, I would really encourage you to read a lot and to read widely, and also be mindful when you're reading. See the types of genres that take your interest, because you may want to represent them if you become an editor or an agent. Okay, I'm going to cheat and offer two books that I think everyone should read. The first is Pride and Prejudice. It is a literary masterpiece. If you haven't read it already, please read it. The second one is called Essays in Love. It's by Alain de Botton. It is about falling in love, being in the middle of a relationship, falling out of love, and all of it is really approached through a profound and philosophical lens. A really deep story, but a really easy read, and I could not recommend it more.